Well, hello friends, and welcome to a flip through of Steampunk Houses colouring book number 2. Now, you know that I've been going through all my catalogue of books and making them all into classic editions and into artist editions, as well as the normal Amazon editions. And while I've been doing that process, I've been going through the books that haven't been updated to include duplicates with a difference, which is including Steampunk Houses 2. And I have now updated this book. So I'm going to do a quick flip through so that you can see what is new and what has changed. This is a classic edition one, which is the £70 paper. Let's go. So the same cover. The only difference is that we've got that logo in the corner. Yeah, so let's have a flip through. Well, this book belongs to page is exactly the same as it's always been. And these are the inside pages with information on them. And I think I've tweaked that a little bit, but that doesn't really matter because this is what matters, the inside pages, the colouring pages. This is our processing house. So I think the first 25 illustrations are essentially the same. I didn't want to change them because I quite love them. Steampunk Houses too. This is Walled Gardens. Here's our amusement park. So I'm just going to go quickly through these because you've already seen them. These are what exists. Victorian Factory House. Just crazy little steampunk houses. This is the Steam House. Three Kings. This is a little bit lateral. It's still fun. Steampunk with boats going through canals. Love it. Tree City. Here's our parade. And this is the clock tower. Now this, for August, is the one that I'm going to colour along with. So this is today's colour. I'm going to be doing fun things to the clock tower. All right, this is the forge. Here we go with Candy Factory. And I have realised that these candies are like the size of a child's head. So I'm not sure about the health benefits of eating one of these candies. I don't know what it would do to your teeth. But I'm not imagining good things. Safe house. Here we have the observatory with the search for extraterrestrial something. SETI. The haunted house. There's a fun one for Halloween. Here we have Fisherman's Wharf, and that is a nice big fish. And you need to catch one of those for your day's work to be complete. Don't ask, just keep on shoveling. And here is our Minotaur house. Here is our gingerbread house. It's our lighthouse with sharks. Snail City. And here is our space station. Mobile home. And this is our house on a hill, which I think was the last page in our original book. And then instead of going duplicates with a difference, what I've done is just added some more illustrations. Now I do have a pack, digital pack on my website, which is the Steampunk Booster Pack. I've pretty much just added that pack into the back of this book. So here is a steampunk temple. Here's a long commute. This is a new illustration for Steampunk Houses. So these illustrations are available in the digital pack, but they've never been published before. This is Lighthouse at Work. And here is a steampunk treehouse. And another powerhouse. I'm quite fond of powerhouses if you haven't been, or I was back in the day. And I love this little truck. And here is Steampunk Suburbia. There's a blimp in the background. All right, that is the end of the original illustrations. And now we have a few little duplicates with a difference in the back end of the book. So here is the safe house. And you'll notice that we've changed the scene, changed this a little bit inside the guy who's driving it. And here is the haunted house. And I enjoyed redoing this. We've got different people in all the windows and a dark sky. So this is just a little bit of a tweak to the haunted house. The toilet door is now open. And here we have Space Station. I thought this one could be fun to play around with without the black background and with a bit of a border, so you can have some nice deep blues maybe in the space or a psychedelic space going on. I've also added some aliens out of control. So things have changed up. More planets to colour. But still lots of fun, that space station. And that, my friends, is Steampunk Houses 2, the new updated version. Now you can grab this from everywhere, but probably the best place to find it and to get links to where you want to go is through rjhampson.com. So go to my website. I have also updated my website, so there's all sorts of information there on what's happening and where you can find the product. Now, this is available on Amazon, but in other parts of the world than the US, the Amazon prices can tend to get a little bit hairy, and they do crazy things like double the price. And so if you want the right price for this book, the best thing to do is to go to rjhampson.com and follow the links through to the Ingram site with the little RJ logo on it. That will get you, that's direct selling from my website straight to the printer. So we cut out the middleman and you can grab the book at the right price, the classic edition book, that is. If you're in the UK, then you have won the artist edition lottery, because this book is also available as an artist edition in the UK only. We are working on getting the artist editions to the rest of the world as soon as we can. That's Steampunk Houses Volume 2. Now, as with Oceans, this book is now the same in every edition. So the Amazon printed edition, the classic edition paperback, the classic edition hardcover, and the artist edition all have exactly the same illustrations in them. There's no difference. So I hope you liked the flip through of this book. And what I'm going to do now is colour along with the clock tower. So hang around if you want to see the clock tower colour along. See you on the other side. All right. And this is Steampunk Houses 2, and we are going to colour clock tower page with our little dude on his way to work. He's checking his clock against the big clock tower. And I was thinking of colouring this in polychromos and maybe underbasing it with a little bit of marker here and there. And I'm just trying to decide what colour to do the main architecture. I think it's going to look good all in the same thing. Now I do have a sheet of acetate and a sheet of paper under this page, and I'm thinking I'm going to do these tiling parts like terracotta and maybe some sort of earthy rock colour for the thing, but I was going to start with the tiles with this terracotta and see how we go. So terracotta for the tiles. And a little bit of brown, just to add dimensionality and a bit of shadow to different places. And then I think let's do these in a similar colour. Terracotta. And a bit lighter. I'm going to go with rose beige for the top of that little inset tile there. All still in the same sort of colour range. And I think some brown as a shadow. And maybe some shadow up in there as it goes into... Right, I guess we have to work out where our colours, where our light's going to come from. I think maybe we'll shadow this side and have it lighter on this side. So I'm going to have a milk tea multi. And let's just play with that colour, see what it does for our rock wall, our rendered wall maybe. I'm going with classic architecture colours, a bit old school rather than doing it like a vibrant blue or something, which I do tend to want to do at times. Let's get that milk tea multi, in there at the same time. And then a bit of a lighter colour. This is a cream colour. And I'm going to bring in this colour called brown grey, which is hopefully along the same lines of that milk tea multi, but just a little darker, because I want to shadow some areas. I'm also going to bring shadow up in underneath these eaves, just with the colour here. And we do have all of these little cracks in the stonework. It'd be good to emphasise those a little bit with that. All right, I'm going to get some gold in here. This is a gold ink pen. I just think some of these little turrets and architectural features would look great in gold ink. So I'm going there from the get-go. I was tempted to use glitter gold, but I think I'm going to subdue it a bit and just go with the gold ink. And I'm going to go over the top and have like gold. This is a very high quality clock tower, as you can tell. I guess it's a clock tower, so it's going to be sort of brass more than gold. Gold is the colour. All right, that's sort of fun. I'm going to bring that milk tea multi back in, because we've got this staircase here. I think that should be along those lines, and the top of that would be cream, because that's the lighter colour we're using. And now I'm going to bring in the brown grey, just to shadow up that little edge there. All right, I'm going to bring in this sanguine. Just want to add in a little bit of added texture with my pencils, with my polychromos. And I think even a little bit of Van Dyke brown, just to really pump out those shadows. I've got some nice deep red here. This is a madder. I just think this skull is going to look lovely. With that little touch of madder. Right, I'm just wondering about these trims that'll be painted. Maybe pastel yellow. I was tempted to go another lurid colour, but I think I'll stick with that sort of earthy vibe. Get some pastel yellow happening there. Maybe even down here. Well, I think we've worked out a lot of our architectural colouring scheme. We're just going to roll that out to the rest of our architecture as we can. I'm going to start with this milk tea multi. And I just, because we've got this curve, I think this will be shadowed. I also think there'll be a bit of shadow here. And certainly across here will be shadow with that milk tea multi. And I'm just going to add, we'll do this layer. And while we've got it out, let's do this as well. Got these steps. And then I think a little bit of brown grey just to add some shadow detail in. And then I think some cream colour. That brown grey shadowy area. All right, I'm thinking for the colour at the top of these step colours, that's a colour called Barely Beige, which doesn't look a whole lot different to the cream colour here. This is a colour called Mellow Peach, maybe a little bit too pink as well. All right, I'm going with this colour called Porcelain, which is a really, really light grey. All right, do we think that this is a lovely brass tunnel support? I think we do. And this seems to have been well constructed by the RJ company. They seem proud of their work, so let's give them a little bit of that gold gilding as well. I'm going to bring some of that Van Dyke brown back in. So I just want to enhance some of this shadow work. Bring this colour called May Green in. See if we can add shadows to this lovely pastel yellow that we've got. Whilst also adding a little bit more colour into our trim. And I'm going to go a bit darker with earth green. I think that's what this is called. No, earth green yellowish. Back to our May green. Right, I've been contemplating what to cap the ponds with. I think I'm going to cap them with some terracotta. So this is terracotta. I just want to bring some more of some bolder colours in. Otherwise it'll just be all sort of beige, won't it? And I don't think the architects that designed this would want it all to be beige. I think they'd want some standout features. For instance, capping this with a terracotta capstone. All right, I'm going to leave the edge of that and bring in that lighter colour that we had, which was rose beige. Rose beige from memory. Do the same thing here with the rose beige. Then work back into that with the terracotta. Yeah, this I think should just be all terracotta. And then here's our brown. Just want to add shadows. Obviously these are pretty subtle shadows, but I think it all adds up. And I think a bit of sanguine. Let's get some sanguine happening. Just to bring some richness to that cap. And a little bit of Van Dyke brown because we just want to enhance our shadows. Especially under here where it would all be sort of shadowed away, wouldn't it? Right, a bit of brown grey. I missed this bit. And I think we could do with a little bit of Van Dyke brown just to once again boost our shadows, especially under here. All right, I want to play with this water a little bit. I'm going to start with a really light blue. This is Frost. Just going to play with this a little bit down here. This is a colour called Seafoam Green. And then a bit of a darker sea green. And what I think might help is if we get this white out onto our waves. All right, I think that works for our water. Let's bring our Seafoam Green back in again. Because of course we've got sort of white splashing all around here. I really want to emphasize the travel of the water around here. And I'm bringing back that frost. Yeah, a little bit of sea green. All right, let's get some greys going. This is oyster grey. These pipes would do well in oyster grey. And then a platinum grey. And I think a little bit of stone grey. I do think we need some lovely brass corners on these pipes. Right, I'm going to grab that oyster grey. I just want to add, I'm going to leave these wings white, but I want to add a little bit of shadow. All right, I've got some tropical plants here, so let's get some honeydew into the top. And then some jade green. All right, what have we got here? Orange glaze. We're really going to emphasize the flower tops on these strelitzias. And I do want to bring some darker green. What have we got here? Some pine green. And do you know, I was going to give this guy a grey suit, but I don't think he deserves a grey suit. I think what he deserves is a lovely, rich green suit. So I'm going with this fresh green. And then our jade green. And then some of that pine green. I don't know if this guy's Irish. What's going on with his predilection for green suits? But as far as my illustration goes, it's tying it all together, isn't it? He's just going to have to wear my fashion decisions. I don't think he minds. And I think what he needs is some lovely leather accessories. This is terracotta. And probably some lovely leather shoes. Watch bands. Now this is some sanguine. It's going to add a little bit of life to that. And what about some of this beautiful madder for his tie? Right, this is a colour called honey. It's going to give him a little bit of a darker complexion. leave his shirt white and his clock white. All right, this is a colour called Coral. Just going to add a little bit of pizzazz to his skin. All right, well, we've done this lower level, and I think we've solved a lot of our architectural colour decisions moving up. So I might just roll those out. And I'm going to start with our milk tea multi, because that's what we did this colour. I'm going to do that on all these sides. So I'm just going to roll that out across with our milk tea multi. I love this sort of, such an intricate little architectural thing, but I'd much rather colour this than a mandala, because there's all little things happening and things to explore and things to discover. So you can really get into the zone. I'm putting away my milk tea multi and I'm bringing in my cream colour for this side of all the buildings. And I'm just going to do the same. I'm going to roll that out across all of those sides I can discover. Now I'm going to bring my brown grey into play. And I have to remember where we use that. I think we use that on the inside for shadows. And a little bit of our eaves creating shadows. All right, we really started to build up some lovely textures in our stonework. But what I think I'll do now is add our tiles in. So let's grab our terracotta. First of all, let's grab our rose beige. So I want to get my little light highlights in, maybe on the tips of our little tiles. And then we're bringing in our terracotta. A little bit of rose beige for the top there. And then our terracotta. Right, I'm going to bring in our brown, just a little subtle darker. All right, I think we're doing great. Let's get some more of this terracotta. I think these little bases of our pillars here should be a bit of terracotta. So that was rose beige, and this is terracotta. And this is brown. And I think we're going to do a similar thing on these sections of the pillars. So the same thing, rose beige, followed by terracotta. Followed by a little bit of brown. And I notice there's another pillar action thing going on down here. So let's get the same system in place. Rose beige, terracotta, and some brown. All right, I'm bringing my gold back in because I've got these little places on the roof that I want to continue to be gilded. Or brass. And I think the top and bottom of these little wraparound things on our pillars are going to be brass as well. Right, I'm going to bring my trim into play. So this is pastel yellow. All right, people, let's move on. We're going to do all of this water. Let's do this water. Got it coming from here even. So this is what, seafoam green. It's coming in these little buckets. And all the way down through here. And I'm going to use some frost. And of course, a little bit of sea green. All right, let's get some white in. I don't want to leave. Oh, we lost these out, but I'm going to leave some of them in. Some of the lines in. I'm going to add like a spray. I'm going to add to the spray down here. And I think we've got even some spillage water down here. Right, I'm going to do some leaves while I'm in the green mood. So I'm going to do tips of the leaves in this sea green. Jade green in for the base. And I'm going to do the tree trunk in this colour called sandalwood. I'm going to bolster that a little bit with this colour called bistra. Actually, I might go darker with some walnut brown. All right, let's just bring that porcelain, do the tops of all our little steps and platforms. And a little bit of brass trim on this little window here. Okay, I'm going to add some pine. Also add some pine to my leaves. And some earth green, something yellowish. Back to our pine. And I think a bit of fresh green just to make that convincing. Now I'm going to start bringing in like the Victorian green painted bits with also that little bit of brass edging because it's a clock tower. You know, you got to do that. All right, so let's get some of that going. I'm going to start with the fresh green. So I'm just going to base all those little areas I think should be that beautiful green wrought iron. Well, not wrought iron. What is it? Steel riveted. All those bits and pieces that go into making up this wonderful contraption. And then I'm going to bring in my pine. And I'm going to use some of that earth green yellowish, the same as we did on this, to indicate shadows on our trim. All right, I'm bringing some matter back in, because we've got another little warning sign up here. And it's good that they're warning people about the dangers. I'm going to bring some brass back, just because I can. Of course, this sign needs brass edging, doesn't it? And the little bits and bobs that I think just need to be brass. I'm going to use oyster grey just on this sort of structural beam, because I think if I use the same stone as that, it would just disappear. All right, I've got these pipes going through here. I'm going to make those nice and dark grey. So I've got a stone grey to start with. And I have these sort of bands that are running stuff up here too. So let's do that. That same sort of rubbery conveyor belt colour. And some porcelain. We missed a bit of that decking up there. I'll do these buckets too, porcelain. Like metal little steel buckets. All right, I've got this dial. I'm going to give it a red matter handle and a red top this way, right down to a green. Sort of mid-range yellow. Right, bit of sanguine. We're just going to add a little bit of texture to our tiles. And a little bit of Van Dyke Brown just to bolster our shadows up. And a little bit of Van Dyke Brown. All right, let's take on this wood. Just want to see what this colour is. It's called Vigogni. And this is a colour called Burnt Orange. Mix that with a bit of this colour called Tumbleweed. Some of this burnt orange. What about this colour called Putty? And Tumbleweed. And a little bit of burnt orange. think a little bit more sea green up in here. The water's rolling through there. All right, I've got this cream. Just going to add some texture. To our wood grain. I've got some bits and pieces over here too, which could do with a bit of greening up. All right, I've got this chain. I'm going to do it oyster grey. And I'm going to grab walnut brown just to get some shadows in behind here. Right, with that oyster grey, I'm just going to add some shadows to a little dial here. And to a little skull. Walnut brown just to get shadows on this as well. All right, here we have the clock tower. Got the clocky bits, so I think brass is going to be called for here en masse. All right, this little gear I think would do well in brass. Let's get that going. And we've got our little tops here. Well, let's start with that. We've got this little, looks like a gilded top. And I don't think I can do all of this brass as much as I would want to, but I'm going to do some of it in brass. And then do other bits of it like metal. And here's our oyster grey. Let's get our gears going. Got some of that stonework here, so I'm going to get my cream colour back in. And our milk tea multi. A little bit of our brown grey. All right, May green and pine green. We're going to do these. And I think some madder for this middle star. And some more brass. We missed this little inset ring here. And a little bit of shadowing with our oyster on our white face. All right, Naples yellow. We've got a bell here. I just want to finish off with a nice bell in our bell tower. Brown ochre. Bit of green gold. And some bistra. All right, a little bit of white highlighting. I don't think we need much highlighting. All right, we're getting there. Just going to do a little bit of shadowing. This is oyster grey. I don't think we need much, but just a little bit of Well, you know what I think I'm going to call that one finished? That is the Clock Tower, and that's from the new and updated Steampunk Houses 2 colouring book. I think Steampunk Houses 2 could be one of the most underrated of all my books, but with a lot of hidden gems inside it. So if you haven't checked it out, maybe you should give it a look, especially now since it's been updated and has so much more value for money. So yeah, guys, I really appreciate you watching today and colouring along with me. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember to like and subscribe. And don't forget to check out rjhampson.com for all of the latest updates and links on what's happening with the books and with the papers. And for now, I'm going to say goodbye. But no doubt I shall see you in another video. I'll see you later.